I want to take this time right here, this time right now, to give some credit to our guy Mike McCarthy. Right, he needs some flowers right now. Old Freaky Mike is what Jesse Holly would call him. He happens to do something that the previous regime did not do, and that's win without their starters. And we're talking about a decades worth, really, of evidence prior to Mike McCarthy coming in here, right? 7 wins now without Dak at the quarterback position between 2020 and now. And that's not even to count the wins that they won without a Tyron Smith, or at one point it was, hey, if Sean Lee went down, he never won because the defense would get gashed. But his entire tenure here, he's been missing stars, it seems like, for long periods of time. I mean, think about it for a second. It hasn't been easy for Mike McCarthy. COVID year in 2020. All right, then he loses his quarterback, but ends up winning 4 games in 2020. The next year, loses a bunch of players and still loses his quarterback for a game, but nonetheless dealt with a whole bunch of injuries. He gets COVID himself. By the way, the team did go out and win. Finished at 12-5 as a head coach, but he loses in the wild card round in a heartbreaking fashion. And all off season, Mike McCarthy had to hear the noise. He just kept his head down, kept going to work. But if you notice, he didn't back down, though, in that offseason, and I appreciate that from Mike McCarthy. Enter 2022, his seat is burning hot, clearly, from the front office, from fans, everywhere. Media, whatever you want to call it. His seat is on fire, but he just stayed steady. Just stayed steady. Had that coach breathing down on his neck, right? Had that coach breathing down on his neck. Loses the opener and loses his quarterback, and the offense just looks out of order. What does Mike McCarthy do? He sits down with Kellen Moore, and he says, we got to tighten up this play sheet. He publicly, but respectfully, calls him out to be smarter and to take a deeper dive into what we're doing here. Mike McCarthy defending himself in the offseason. Mike McCarthy pushing back a little bit during the season before things get out of hand. What happens next? Dallas gets back to their balanced ways. I don't think we've seen a trick play since week 1. And now they've won back-to-back games with the backup quarterback while facing adversity in both of those games. Like, let's not forget that. There was adversity in the Bengals game, and there was adversity in this Giants game. While this one didn't feel like it was going to slip away, last week it felt that way as they were kind of marching back to tie that ball game. But we have to give our hats off to Mike McCarthy rallying these troops. I know a lot of us in this Cowboys nation, we really don't. What do you do, Mike? We don't know what you do. Well, I do know one thing that he does, and that's try to build a culture here. He's not perfect, right? But I do think he brings something different than the previous regime, and I think it's dealing with the adversity a lot better on a consistent basis than previously before. So shout out to Mike McCarthy. Drop some fire emojis in the chat for one Mike McCarthy. I'm going to drop a clue bomb for Mike, man. Shout out to Mike. This video is brought to you by our friends at Supreme Lending Dallas. For over 20 years, Supreme Lending Dallas has been your right hand for home buying, stemming from their belief in building customers for life. They have a simple 6-step process that has changed the life of thousands of DFW residents. From loan application to setup, processing, underwriting, closing, and even post-closing. Supreme Lending Dallas and their 24/7 top-notch customer service will be by your side every step of the way. They're offering a no-cost evaluation of your home if you're considering or ready to make your next move anywhere in the country. Just go to the link in the video description to secure your no-cost evaluation from Supreme Lending Dallas today.